Hello everybody, welcome back to the Steelfist podcast. Today I'm joined by Rod Payne, who unfortunately had his fight canceled, but he'll be hopping on the next one in November. But we're just going to be recapping the previous fight night that just happened on September 20th, Steelfist Havoc. We're going to be kicking it off with our first fight of the night. We had Corbin War coming in against Brendan Ferreira.
Brendan has really good striking. It was his kickboxing debut. It is Corbin's as well. Brendan just seemed to get the better of Corbin. Corbin was a warrior. I mean, I seen him getting stitched up and back. But what I took away is just Brendan's pressure was there. He was looking his shots, he was taking his engagements, and kind of just fighting his fight.
Yeah, Brendan, he's always been one of my favorite strikers to watch on the regional scene. He's always been super good, super accurate. Corbin was having good success when he was the one being the pressure fighter, but when he was letting Brendan really just set his pace, that's really when things were falling apart for him, and Brendan was able to pretty much take the fight away. So fantastic match for both of these guys. I'm really excited to see Brendan continue, and Corbin, you know, this is his first time competing in anything except for boxing, up against somebody who has as much experience in the cage as Brendan Ferreira. I was super excited for that fight, and it definitely played out really well. Alright, so then our second match, we had Fernando Arvizu coming in against Chandler Stone.
Chandler just seemed to get the best of him. He won in the second round by TKO. And, you know, I like the way Fernando just came out and didn't stop coming either. It was both their debut fights for Muay Thai as well, so I can't wait to see what's in the future for both those fighters.
Yeah, so actually this one, you just had the name flipped over. It was Fernando who ended up winning with the second round TKO.
Oh, yep.
But yeah, you were right. He came out, just showed a ton of good pressure, and Chandler had good effective strikes, good punches, but his hands seemed really low. Like I think his fight style just kind of clashed with the pressure that Fernando was bringing. That was just from my initial watching. Fatigue seemed to set in for him, but everything about his offense was super good. His defense could have been a little bit better, but it's also hard to have consistently solid defense when someone's pressuring you as much as Fernando was. Alright, so then we have Jacob Baird coming in against Arsha Hashimi. Jacob Baird looking better and better every single time he comes out. We got to see a lot more fundamental striking out of Jacob than we have seen in his previous fights. He is usually using his wrestling pressure in a lot of his matches, and super good in the clinch and super effective implementing his grappling. And in this one, he still had the same amount of pressure, same explosiveness, but we got to see a lot more striking combinations of him, and it was awesome to see him come up against somebody who has more of a standard kickboxing style like Arsha did coming out of Sierra MMA.
So Jacob had really great head movement, but Arsha kept camming, man. His leg also got chewed up quite a bit. I mean, it ended in a unanimous decision, 30-27 across the board, which was fair. But for Arsha to keep coming, especially with Jacob's just, fundamental striking, and it was that also was a good fight. I'm just going to add that, every fight that happened that night was great. So you're going to hear me say that a lot. But yeah, I can't wait to see them improve, and hopefully we see them back in the cage, because they're both great fighters. I mean, like I said, Arsha just kept on taking it and just wouldn't give up either.
Yeah. Oh, and then another note that I do have for this fight. So it's kind of confusing, but there are two Empowers. There's Empower Fitness with an E, and then Empower like the letter M and the word power. Jacob Baird and those guys are all letter M, power, not my guys. So there was just some notes in the commentary saying that it was my gym. I wish I traded those guys. They're pretty cool, and they all have super solid striking, and I'm a super big fan of their team. But yeah, we're separate people as of right now. All right, moving on to our next match, we had Ryan Wallace coming in against Evan Jenkins. This one a little bit controversial. Evan Jenkins walking away with the win. Ryan Wallace had a super good showing coming up against somebody who has already a fight in Muay Thai. On the rewatch, I can understand the decision. Evan Jenkins won kind of the first half of the fight, then he gassed out, and Ryan won the second half of the fight. But that second round, where it was kind of half and half, Evan Jenkins just did a little bit more to be able to secure the win.
Yeah, Ryan, he was really tagging him. Got tagged with a good leg kick. Started to bruise early in the first, and I think that could have played a lot to just the pressure afterwards. Because once you get your leg chewed up like that, it's hard to plan. It's hard to move, especially when we're just standing. But it was really good fight. I mean, the decision, I could kind of see it going both ways. But, I'd like to see him maybe run back after they get a little more experience and just get better. It was a good fight.
Yeah, and then, just another thing from Ryan, when Evan Jenkins would shell up in his, he was fatigued, he would just kind of shell up and bend over. Ryan would throw a bunch of knees that weren't super effective. I would like to have seen him just throw more boxing combinations in that instance, but he's a super cool dude. I talked to him quite a bit over the weekend, and Evan Jenkins always comes on and puts on a great fight, so congrats to Evan, and Ryan seemed to be in good spirits even after the loss, so excited to see what's next for both of those guys. Moving on, we had Aiden Marin coming in against Mason Bilbrey. Mason Bilbrey had a really good first round in this matchup. Coming in, I think Aiden Marin has 2 or 3 fights by now in kickboxing and Muay Thai. And Mason coming in and making his debut had a really successful first round, but then just fatigue caught up to him and things started going Aiden's way. What are your thoughts on that one?
There was that early groin strike that looked painful, man. I mean, I was crying with him. Aiden obviously just looked better, but he had some good elbows in there. It's not common to see that many elbows in an amateur Muay Thai fight from the ones that I've watched. But yeah, Mason definitely needs to work on his cardio, but Mason also has a real good chin. Aiden wins PKO in the second, and that was a good fight to watch, and hopefully, they make work out the bugs, and I just hope to see him back.
Okay, then we are moving on. We're finally to MMA. We had Jorge Frady coming in against Aiden Robinson. Aiden Robinson, another Empower guy, and Jorge Frady, independent, or Talos Frady, I apologize. So Aiden Robinson able to go in there, implement his grappling. Jacob Baird is actually their grappling coach over there at Empower, and he was able to use his grappling, take the back, and get the submission pretty good, pretty quickly on Talos. I'm kind of saying this all the time. I really just want to see these independent guys get into a gym. He has the toughness, he has the heart, and he says that he's working and making adjustments with his team, but I think he just needs more live bodies and more, legitimate coaching to work with to be able to just get himself to the next level. So, Talos, if you're ever watching my videos, come by and train over at my gym Empower, and we'll get you ready for your next one.
Yeah, Aiden was real slick with his wrestling. Very well, just snuck that rear naked in early first too. I would like to see the opponent get into a erectable gym, and those live bodies do help. The constructive coaching does help. For him to show up for a fight, that takes a lot of courage, and I feel like him doing it independently, if he were to get to a gym, I feel like he would go somewhere with it and improve quite a bit.
Next matchup, we had it was supposed to be Rod Payne versus Mike Tasker. So go ahead and just share some thoughts on everything that went down and what's coming up next for you.
Yeah, so I showed up ready to fight. Unfortunately, he didn't show up to fight. From my understanding, the situation, he hurt me a while ago, and just wasn't my fight. That's fine. We got to take care of ourselves as fighters first before we go out there. And I get it. It was super frustrating. I was ready. I was in face. I should fight. But, I'm fighting November 15th against Mondo Rodriguez. And he should fight City. I feel like that's a much better matchup for me because he's my height. We around the same weight. And I'm just going to continue to work. And I'm excited.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. That matchup does seem quite a bit better for you. So yeah, Utah MMA's behind you, and we're all excited and cheering you on your journey. Moving on, we had Bryce Smith coming in against Chris Keogh. Still don't remember how to say. I forgot to ask how to say his name, but this matchup definitely did not go the way that I was expecting it to. Bryce did super good in the stand-up, and I kind of was expecting him to. That's where he looked more comfortable in his previous fight, and I've trained with Chris a lot, and he's a super solid boxer. He's been working on his grappling a lot, but the intensity that Bryce Smith brought in was just too much, and he was able to get that takedown and sink in that choke.
Bryce is independent. I know him a little bit personally. I would like to see him go to a rectal gym. Chris did really well. However, when Chris threw that head kick, Bryce landed it cross just right down the pipe, dropped him. It was a quick scramble, and Bryce just got the better of him and grabbed his neck and took home with him.
Yeah, and I've said the same thing kind of about all the independent fighters. Like, guys, just get in gyms. It's good for your safety, good for your health. It's good for your leveling up your skills. But for Bryce Smith to be able to get a win over somebody as good as Chris is going to turn out to be, I know that he was better than he performed that night, but it's fighting, and Bryce Smith ended up getting the win, so congratulations to him. Okay, moving on, we had Damon Hunter coming in against Max Krieger. Damon Hunter's striking looked a lot better than what we had seen in the past, so he was doing really good about keeping on pressure, getting in the clinch, and landing some pretty solid uppercuts up against the cage against Max. But Max's grappling and his length and range control, his jab looked phenomenal. Looked really good. So some things we got to fix for everybody as they're improving. Some things we got to fix with Max, and we've been working really hard. We were both back in the gym Monday. I'm excited to see him continue to go, and Damon Hunter as well. He came in and trained with us earlier in the week, and he's interested in starting to get with legit gyms and training with them. So
Max and Damon, they're both dogs. Max had some low hands though. I let him have a tight guard, and it ended in a great takedown. Just went right into a arm choke. So I'm excited to see where they go as well. Like I said, they're both dogs. They both came out there to put on a performance, and they both did.
Yep, that was, when I was sitting backstage watching it, I was like, Max, get your hands up, get your hands a little bit higher. He had the range control, he had the speed and the footwork to stay out of danger for the most part, but yeah, having his hands low was pretty stressful for me, but yeah, thankfully his wrestling kicked in, he was able to get the win. Julian Plaza coming in against Hal Mitchell. Julian Plaza has shown, in the past that he's a phenomenal kickboxer, very good at striking, and then comes in against somebody who we saw his grappling in his last match and just completely out-grapples him and gets the submission. Julian Plaza is going to be a huge problem at 155 pounds.
Yeah, so, I know Julian. I trained with him for a while. He's a dog, man. His striking is good. His grappling is good. Hal, he was sick at the fight camp a little bit, so I don't think he was at 100%. But Julian's skill and just the way he just flows is amazing. Hal came out throwing hitters. I'd like to see him tighten that up. But it just goes back to Julian slow wrestling. Julian just had a great game and got that arm and head choke. just took it home.
I saw Howell was saying that on the day of weigh-ins, he weighed in, or he was weighing about 153 in the morning, so he was just having a hard time keeping and maintaining weight, going through some sickness stuff, so that definitely does play a factor. But I'm happy at least that Hal's been thrown into the circuit and is at least trying to is coming in and competing against these younger guys and just keeping his career alive. So I'm sure we'll probably see him back pretty quickly. And I'm all in on Julian Plaza's rise to the top because he's a super cool guy. So moving on, the lightweight amateur title bout, we had me coming in against Malachi. Super fun matchup. He caught me with that gazelle hook right off the top and just dropped me on my butt. Kind of just that woke me up. The amount of striking power and accuracy and speed, his striking was awesome. And I've seen in the fight with Ammon that his striking looks better. I was told that his striking was getting better, but I wasn't quite prepared for the amount of power and speed that he had coming into the matchup. He kept on diving for a head outside single on my lead leg, and just the distance and my sprawl, I ended up just kind of tying him up repetitively in the same crucifix position and landing hammer fists, and that just kind of took a lot out of him. He had that single leg kind of after the first minute. At the first minute he was kind of taking me down, beating me up. He went for that single leg takedown, then he changed it up to a high crotch, and that's when I fell on top of him. And that was kind of the beginning of things starting to turn more into my favor. But that beginning of the second round, striking back and forth, just having a fun little striking match there in the center. Had a lot of fun doing that, and Malachi still being so young and as active as he is, I'm excited to see just how his career goes.
Yeah, I mean, so both did great striking. You were staying patient with the wrestling, and there was a lot of clinch work there too. But you're staying very smart on the ground. Once you started to try to throw his legs up or something, you just got in a better position, keeping your head back, not break your posture. He did drop you with that first flurry, but you got right back up and you just kept staying calm. I mean, Malachi's had from what I've seen, quite a bit of fights, and still being young. And you're a problem to deal with striking too. So for him to get through to you is something else. But yeah, Malachi seemed to tire out in the second, and you just, you stayed patient, fought your fight, and won with, that ground and pound flurry, and kind of just beat him where he would like to be, which, he's a good wrestler. So I'm really impressed by both people. Your wrestling and your ground games have improved immensely over the past 12 months, and I'm excited you defend that belt.
Yeah, me too. All right, we are moving on now. So first off, me and Malachi won fight of the night, which is super cool. But my personal fight of the night was Kawhi Thompson and Edgar Sorto. Both of these guys were having great moments throughout the fight. Edgar seemed to put Kawhi in dangerous positions quite a bit with guillotines and taking his back. Edgar's jiu-jitsu looked really good, but Kawhi's always just marched through and dealt a lot of damage, and every single time Kawhi would get out of those scrambles, he'd make Edgar pay for trying to get some submissions in on him.
Yeah, so Kawhi Thompson coming in, he's a good, he's a great striker. He is one of the best, and Edgar sort of he was a dog, just kept on grappling. I seen Kawhi get into a few situations where I'm like, oh boy, he's grabbing for something. But Kawhi just seemed to stay calm. Kawhi's very explosive, so that helped. Very grappling heavy fight. But in the fourth, Kawhi started picking him apart and won by TKO in the fourth.
Yeah, Kawhi, just his stature, his build, his strength, he's a very hard person to submit. So he puts it all together really well as a fighter. So and now he's, I think, 8-1-1, and maybe going pro, maybe gonna defend again, but yeah, he's awesome. And then moving on to the main event, Cole Faust coming in against Daryl Gordon. Cole Faust making his return. One thing I do gotta say, in the previous podcast I was saying that he was taking some time off recovering, or taking some time off, but he was recovering from an injury. I was aware that he was recovering from an injury. I didn't want to like say it out loud online in case it wasn't public knowledge, but then I found out that it was public knowledge. So yeah, my bad. Cole Faust had a broken arm in his fight back in January or February against Bryce Administer, so had to take the time off to get recovered from that, and came back and looked as sharp as ever. It looks like he's jumping right back into trying to stay active, and in the fight was able to very quickly secure a takedown and get the heel hook.
Yeah, Cole looked very light on his feet. He's always had good distance management. Wrestling, he's improved a lot on his wrestling, and when he grabbed for that heel hook, it was so quick, and he sunk it in, and Daryl had no option but to tap. So Cole's always been a problem at 155. He is probably the best top prospect in Utah. He's been in the game since he could walk. So Daryl came out there. Daryl had the height advantage, but with Cole's distance management, it was just a problem. And he took it to the ground and decided, that's where he wanted it, and that's where we ended the fight. Like I said, that heel hook was deep, really, really deep. So, good on Cole for just trying to take his leg home with him.
Yep, I'm excited to see how he's going to go. Hopefully he gets this next matchup here in November, and then goes 3-0, and then we can start. They start looking at him for some big shows. So he's got a good career ahead of him. Excited to see where he goes. Also excited for November 15th, where Steelfist is going to make their return. So keep an eye out for that one. And thank you, Rod, for joining us, and we will see you all eventually.